Student organizations have great power on campus and in our county. Today, we're talking with the executive leadership of Spectrum about how they affect change. It's Campus to Community. Welcome back to Campus to Community. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hannah Baggott Anderson, Lecturer of English and Literacy Commons Faculty Fellow. With me today to talk about their student organization is Dewayne Carney, President of Spectrum, and JQ Alston, Recruitment Officer. Thanks for joining me today, y'all.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for having us.
Excellent. To start off, though, I want to know a little bit about you individually. Tell us first, what is Spectrum?
So Spectrum is the LGBTQ student advocacy organization. LGBTQ standing for lesbian, gay, trans, bisexual, and queer. Of course, we're open to more than just those in the community. We're open to allies as well. And we're here to educate those about all the terms and things that come along with sexuality and gender, as well as advocate for those people as well. So.
Great, and a great definition, because I know Spectrum does so much on our campus, but in a nutshell, that's excellent.
Right.
How did Spectrum come about? When did it start on campus?
The earliest records that we know of is back in 2003, 2004, when we were under a different name called the 10% Society.
Oh, wow.
And we actually won Chancellor's Cup that year. However, I'm sure that we've been around a lot longer. So.
Yeah, I know that Spectrum has gone through a couple of different name changes on campus. So the 10% Society and then GSA, right, was a name at one point.
At one point before we changed it to Spectrum in 2015. However, before GSA, I think it was called SEGA, which stood for Sexuality and Gender Alliance.
Okay, great.
And a bunch of other names beforehand. So.
Yeah, and a lot of different developments even just in the past 20 years, right, we can assume. But now, tell us a little bit about the positions that you hold, because you are students in executive leadership. So what does that mean for you? And then how does that fit with what you're studying here?
Well, my position is recruitment officer, and basically I go out on campus sometimes and I just talk about what Spectrum is and try to get more members, you know, whenever we have events or just to come to our general meetings, you know, every week. And then we have like the involvement fair. I'm the one who's usually presenting the board and whatnot.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to sign up.
Cool. And what is on that board? Because I know that maybe students will know at the involvement fair we usually have different tables that explain different student organizations, but what does Spectrum's table or board look like?
We have a lot of photographs from past events that we've had. We have a Pride Week usually every semester, and at the end of our Pride Week, we have a Pride Walk. And so at the end of our Pride Walk, we end up at the water feature out here, and we take pictures. So a lot of those pictures from years with members of the organization years ago are still up there. Members from events like our drag shows are up there, and information about how to reach out to us, like our social media as well.
Cool. So just like all the basic contact and all the cool stuff y'all do.
Yep.
Excellent. And Blake, what about you?
So I'm the president of Spectrum, of course. The president, we're very in touch with the faculty and staff on campus, so we ended up reaching out to different campus departments, different other student organizations to do collaborations with them for different events as well as one of the main people that's kind of like in the spotlight more than JQ would be. However, it's equally balanced with everybody because you can't be a great leader without a great team behind you, a support system. So,
yeah. I like hearing that, because in terms of being on this executive board in student leadership, like in an organization, why did you want to take on this role? Because I know classes are hard, you know, there's not a ton of time as a college student, so why did you make that choice?
So I originally wasn't planning to be part of the executive board. However, after my first semester of joining the organization, I was heavily involved as well as doing all my classes and everything. And the president actually came to me and was like, you should run for a position. And they were like, well, run for vice president because nobody ran for it. So I was like, okay. And as vice president, I didn't have a clue. I was just like, okay, tell me what I gotta do and I'll do it. However, whenever that president ended up graduating, I didn't want to run for president. I was like, I don't need the responsibility right now, because I was also a resident advisor at the time. However, we ended up having a president come in for like 2 months, and then they left, and then everybody was like, well, who wants to be president? And I was like, well, according to the laws and everything and how things go, usually the vice president steps up to be president whenever the president steps out. So that's how I become president, of course.
I like it. Great. And JQ, why did you want to get involved in executive leadership?
Kind of just like Blake said, I didn't have any intention of being on the executive board. However, a lot of my peers just thought that I was a really outgoing person. So since I was a people person and nobody else really was, they thought that the position would be great for me because I like to talk to people and I'm pretty easy to talk to and communicate with. So.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen from both of you and working with you in Spectrum, is that you have a passion for the work, right? Or for at least the community. So I think that often translates into leadership roles, even if you're not saying, I want to be in that role. But people support you because they know you've got that skill set. Is that
Absolutely.
true?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know. So JQ, you've talked a little bit about, about your role as a recruitment officer, but what does that kind of outreach look like? What do you do? What do you say to people? Who do you talk to?
I usually just, I'm usually just asking people if they've heard of Spectrum around campus. I do most of my recruitment at involvement fairs or whenever we have a table set up any specific week in the UC. If people want to come up to the table, I'm just usually like, hey, do you have a minute, and have you heard of Spectrum here on campus? And if they haven't, I explain to them what Spectrum is, much like Blake explained what Spectrum is. And then we just reach out to anybody, because we're open to anybody. We're called Spectrum for a reason. We welcome everyone on the spectrum of sexualities. So. Yeah,
I like hearing that. Why do you think a group like this is a big question, and a big question maybe for both of you, but why do you think a student organization that focuses on advocacy and support for the LGBTQIA+ population, why do you think that that's so important?
As for the campus aspect, is to show that we're actually here for the people on campus as well as off campus, but sticking more on campus is to show everybody on campus that it's okay to not know what you like and who you are directly at the time. Like, it's a learning environment, and of course it's a spectrum of everything, as well as it's very fluid. Like, gender and sexuality are very fluid. So like, one day somebody might be into males, but the next day they might be into females, or both, or neither, or even those who don't identify as either one of the two binaries. So. And then as for like local community and the younger generation, is to show that, look, we're still thriving. It's okay if you can't express who you are right now. In the future, if you wish to express yourself, you can. However, if need be, don't put yourself in harm's way. Like, don't do something you don't need to do right now just because it's like a backlash thing.
Yeah, and I mean, that's getting into some scary conversation, but perhaps important conversation, is that we are in the South. Those are still challenges here, and I know that there are challenges on the university. Maybe I can ask then, what's been the general kind of reaction from the general student body population here or from the community? Has it been positive? Has it been complicated? What have you seen?
It's been pretty positive. We get a lot of support on this campus, being that it is diverse in every way. And a lot of our events are good turnouts too, so we get a lot of support when we have big events, like our drag shows and things like that.
Yeah, I like hearing that. Blake, do you have something to say about that?
I mean, like JQ said, it's pretty decent, or it's pretty good actually, compared to whenever I first started. Our events were really small. However, more the community that's not necessarily, I want to say, open with who they are, but more kind of like, it is what it is, for lack of a better term at the time. Basically, they would come out to the drag shows. Like, our drag shows cost money because typically, in the previous years, you had to pay an entry fee, just like you would, like if you went to like somewhere else that hosted a drag show. So a lot of the campus community came out for those, or the local community and surrounding areas came out for those, whereas now that it's open and free for everybody, a lot of students come too. So this past year, last April, matter of fact, April the 4th would be a whole year, we did Draskerade, which was our biggest drag show on campus that we've had in the past at least 7 years, to my knowledge. Of course, typically we only have, the seats don't really get filled, but for Draskerade, they were standing room only. People were still coming in at the door. We eventually had to tell people, like, hold on, like we had to conduct the fire hazard.
Yeah,
so,
fire safety there.
There you go.
Yeah, and I know that from my time here, I've seen those shows grow and grow. And I know the three of us know, and maybe many people watching this will know what a drag show is. But can you give us a simple definition of what that event looks like?
Do you know, or you want me to do it?
I know how to explain.
Yeah, sure. How about this? Let's start at a base level. What is drag?
It's typically, after we had the drag shows, we always have like a question and answering with the performers, typically drag queens, which are male identifying people dressing up as females for entertainment, as well as drag kings are females dressing as males. However, that's not saying that only males dress as females for drag, because there are females who do drag as a female and males who do drag as a male. So it all depends. Basically, they're just entertainers for the community, and it's kind of how they are.
Yeah, and from my experience, right, it's like an expression of either hyper femininity or hyper masculinity, depending on what kind of queen or king you are, right? And there's often dancing and lip singing.
Yes. A lot of it.
Yeah, and where do you find your performers? We have relationships with some of them, don't we?
So whenever I came here, when I started school here, I eventually, as I got to be president, I eventually had got in touch with one of the queens, and we're actually really good friends. So every time that we have a drag show, I reach out to them and just ask them, like, hey, this is how many queens we have, this is the event, this is the date and time, this is how much money we can give y'all to bring in the queens, so how many people can you bring? So typically we have about, for like a drag show in general, just for itself, we have anywhere between 6 and 8 queens, well, or kings, come in and they do their lip syncing, they do their performances, and of course the crowd's always going wild.
Yeah, go wild, and they tend to, or at least in the past I've seen people actually tipping, which is good, right? Like that's often the goal, part of the performance.
Right. And of course, the more tips the queen does, the higher energy the queen performs with.
Yeah,
so.
and you know, locally, and even I think you'd have to probably travel even beyond Fayetteville to get access to shows like that, right? I mean, it's a big deal for our local community to have that.
Because of course, the closest ones that I know of are in Fayetteville or in Wilmington. However, like the queen that I was talking about, a lot of that queen and a couple of the other queens that come to campus are either local or they actually have graduated from UNCP.
Oh wow!
So,
and that's a good thing to point out. It's, you know, a cool opportunity to come back and be fully expressive of their personality, right?
Exactly.
And I think that that's a really great thing about Spectrum, is that even if people, you know, don't know a lot about the LGBT community or aren't necessarily like fully involved, they can enjoy a good drag show, right?
Right, of course. And it happens all the time, every semester.
Yeah. Yeah, have you ever spoken with anyone that, you know, has never seen an event like that? What has been the response?
I don't, not to my knowledge, I haven't.
Okay.
I know a lot of people that I have spoken to have been to at least one.
Okay.
You know? So.
Yeah.
So as of April for Draskerade, I had one of my friends bring her husband out because he's never been to a drag show or anything. And so it was a very interesting time for him. He was like, I actually enjoyed it. However, it's kind of like one of those things where it's not an all the time thing for him. Like he'll be like, okay, I'll go because my wife wants to go. And then of course we've had a couple of people show up so that would then be like, they understood what it was. They like were like, okay, I'm gonna go try this out and see like how I like the show and everything. And of course, it's not for everybody. Just like anything, like regular TV shows, you might like a show and I might not like it because of whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think that thinking about that is important. It's like you don't have to love everything about what the group does to be supportive, right? And I think that that's important. So we talked about this really great drag show, and I know you've done one at least every year, at least since I've known the two of you. What other events have you done that you've enjoyed or that have been successful?
We recently, last semester, done a spoken word event where we had some speakers just come out and do some spoken word, whether it was about LGBTQ plus things.
Topics.
That. And or just random, just spoken word. We also had the Ask the Sexperts event where we had a panel of 5 people, and there were questions that people could write down and just ask about sexual relations, like anything that they had questions about.
Yeah, and I imagine, did that include health as well? When
Yes,
you talked to them?
yes.
Because I actually just saw online this morning that this week is technically LGBT Health Awareness Week, which I got excited about and wanted to bring up to y'all and say, did you know?
Yeah, I did not know.
Yeah, I know there's an awareness week for everything now, but still, I thought that was cool.
And then we have also, in this past October, not only in addition to our drag show and the spoken word, we also had LGBT History Month because it was put in place by President Barack Obama back in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, as a national month. And so we were in the UC from 11 to 2 every day, well, Monday through Friday. And we gave out facts about LGBTQ history, promoted our events because we had the spoken word, Ask the Sexperts, the drag show, and then we had a couple other events following before and after. One of our biggest events that I would like to see go even further than it was this year was our International Men's Day event, where we talked about what it means to be a man, and basically the differences between hygiene and being feminine and toxic masculinity and all of that.
Yeah, so. And I think that that's super important. I mean, I hate to kind of giggle at thinking about the difference between hygiene and femininity, but that is even just a basic issue, right? To think about keeping yourself clean and healthy. I know some men reject that in order to be seen as more manly. That's just fascinating. But I love that, and I think that that's an event that should continue happening. But you have a whole bunch of stuff coming up very soon, right? For our Pride Week.
So excited.
Yeah, talk to us about that.
So Pride Week, we do it every year, every semester sometimes. And this one here, we've actually have a committee that is planning out the entire Pride Week. So we're planning on putting out the flag for everybody to see, so that way then people understand hey, we're here and we're not going anywhere. We also are doing Are You Proud of Your Sexuality or Gender Identity, where basically we're teaching everybody, or we're explaining to people the different sexualities and the flags that go along with it, and then people are allowed to paint their hands of that flag if they want to. Of course, we're not going to be you have to out yourself. And if they do it, they don't have to sign their name to it. They can just put their hand up there and be done. And then later on that night, we are also doing a Spectrum of the Arts program, basically. So it's talking about all the different arts and how it relates to individuality. So we did the spoken word in October to talk about LGBTQ history and issues. This one here is more focused on individuality. So if you made a piece of work that you did, or painting or something that you did yourself that explains who you are as a person, we're asking for people to come set those up, and we're going to show those off. That's going to include the art club, If I'm not mistaken, Student Government Association is part of it, as well as Inkwell. So.
Excellent. So I know those are the first two, and then that whole Pride Week, what is that leading up to?
It will lead up to our very first prom.
Yeah.
Queer prom. It's going to be called Enchanted Prom, actually. And basically the goal of this is just to give anyone another opportunity to actually have a prom, because some people, you know, if they are a part of the LGBT community, and even if not, some people did not get to have the chance to go to prom and wear what they wanted to wear or go with whoever they wanted to go with. And so a lot of people actually missed out on that because they couldn't go as what they wanted to go as.
Right.
Just based on constraints from their schools. And even then, like, some schools, because of funding, didn't even have a prom. So we just want to give students another chance, and like even non-students, just to have the opportunity.
Yeah, so is this open to the public, the prom?
I believe so. However, it's more geared towards the people inside of the LGBTQ community, but like Jake, you said, it's open to everybody, especially students here. And we are in the process of reaching out to, well, we have reached out to Fayetteville State University, as well as with the potential of reaching out to Methodist University, as well as St. Andrews.
Excellent. I like that this is a wide range of bringing together. You know, again, I know we are constantly underlining that we are open, or Spectrum is open to everyone, but I think it's important to draw attention to the fact that this is a prom that kind of is intended to support the queer population and say, you deserve a night of fun, right? You deserve to dress and express yourself the way that you see fit for you, and to be around people that support you and love you based on those choices. And
that's the main goal, is to provide a safe environment so people can express how they are.
Yeah, and I've heard about the planning of prom,
right?
Because I am a co-advisor to Spectrum. I will, admit that, because I love the work that you all do, and I'm super excited because you have a whole committee, right, for planning prom. Can you tell us a little bit about that process as student leaders?
Basically, we just talk about a lot of, well, the president of that committee is Carney Roberts. She's our vice president, and she leads those meetings, and really just talk about how we're going to go about inviting people, how to get the word out there, decoration and things like that. The theme is Enchanted Forest, so we're just thinking about how to have everything set up, and we talk about how many people we think we're going to be there and things like that. So I think it's going to be a great turnout.
Yeah, I know, I'm excited too. Because I know there's a lot of kind of, I hate to call it red tape, but there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to, book a larger space. And I know that there's a big push for safety, right? So we're even working with
Campus police.
Right? And what has their response been to being prepared to provide safety for this event?
They're very open, and they're very understanding, and a lot of them, if they don't understand they don't know the terminology, they don't know whatever means, they'll ask in a respectful way. I actually have had positive experiences with campus police when it comes to our events, as well as when we did the HB2 protest back in 2015, which was also on the same day as Chancellor Cummings' inauguration. That was a UNC system-wide HB2 protest. Campus police actually pulled me aside and was asking about some of the flags that some of the people had, what some of the terminology meant, and I was like, I'm actually really grateful that you asked in a respectful way, for one, and for two, you didn't instantly hate on somebody because you didn't understand.
Right.
Which is one of our main purposes, is to make sure that people understand, we're not out to get anybody, we're not trying to overly try to convert people, as some would say.
Right.
We're just here to... Or
push your lifestyle on others. I know that's something that unfortunately is said a lot in the media.
Definitely.
But hearing that, I've even seen some of our campus security at drag shows having a great time, right? Yeah.
They love sitting in the back.
Yeah, that's really sick.
Because they get to work, but also enjoy the fun.
Right.
So with prom coming up, what's some kind of concluding thoughts do you have that you would love for our viewers to kind of sit with as we have to end our conversation soon?
Concluding thoughts. Well, for anyone who would like to join our meetings anytime for the rest of the semester, they are held on Tuesdays at 5:30 here in Old Main, room 129, which is today. So if you would like to come out today to our meeting, you're more than welcome to. And
then, and of course, we also would like to make sure that everybody knows that regardless of someone's sexuality doesn't define who they are. Because they're still the same person as they were before, except they might not like the norm that society puts on everybody. They might not identify as part of the norm. Like a man can be straight and be super feminine. A man can be straight and do drag, or female can be straight and do drag as a male. It all depends on the person. Like, you shouldn't judge somebody just because of something that we're forced into societal norms, as well as knowing that we are all human.
Yes.
So,
perfect opportunity for the shirt, you know, because I love seeing you wear that, Blake, because I think that it's a really good way for us to kind of face our own assumptions about difference and about otherness and find common ground, right?
Definitely.
And find safety and support in that, because I know that too, and maybe I'm going off for just a second, but one thing that really sits with me about Spectrum's existence on this campus and power on this campus is that it helps to prove how important it is for people to find others like them and to feel valid, because I know that college is hard enough, right?
Right.
Why, like, what do you love most about Spectrum? Short answer.
I'll let you.
I love that it gives me a safe place to go to, where I know that I'm supported 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, and it gave me people who I know I'll have in my life for the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that.
Of course, as well as JQ said, I agree with that and wholeheartedly and everything. It also is a place to not only come together as a group and like as a people or a community together, but also to let me know personally that I'm valid in how I am without having to always second guess because of other people's opinions.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you both so much for talking with us about this important stuff today, but also about serving in your leadership positions on top of that. And thanks for watching. Thanks to our crew. I'm Hannah Baggott Anderson, and this is Campus to Community. See you next time.